Conservative new media viewers, Jeremy Lin fans around the world, NBA fans around the world, what's up? It's me, PFV, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert, and we're here to discuss the exciting news that Jeremy Lin has chosen his first real team as an unrestricted free agent after 5 seasons in the NBA, and that team is the Charlotte Hornets, owned by Michael Jordan. Now, if you're new to these videos, I'm sure a number of you are going to be that. Usually, I'm going to know more than I know right now, because to be completely honest with you, I wasn't expecting Jeremy Lin to go to the Hornets. And I keep track on a number of different NBA teams, but the Hornets was not one of those teams last year. So I have to kind of get up to speed a little bit. So that's where we're going right now. I don't think any Jeremy Lin fan but thought that he was going to pick the Charlotte Hornets, but that's what ended up happening. And so what I want to do now is a quick reaction video, kind of an overview, and then later on we'll do more videos, we'll get more information, et cetera, and we'll know more then. Okay, number one, why did Jeremy Lin select the Charlotte Hornets? I think what happened here was that Jeremy Lin was intending to go to the Dallas Mavericks. However, because DeAndre Jordan went back on his decision to sign with the Dallas Mavericks, I believe that the Dallas Mavericks are now likely to go into a kind of rebuilding or tank mode. And so what that means is the situation may not have been as attractive to Jeremy Lin as it was had DeAndre Jordan gone to the team. There's also a chance that head coach Rick Carlisle may move on from the Mavericks also. Rick Carlisle is one of the best coaches in the NBA, and so the Mavericks might have lost some of their appeal to Jeremy Lin. And quite frankly, the Mavericks might decide to go into a long-term reconstruction process. Jeremy Lin is a very competitive guy. Him having to play on the Lakers last year when they were clearly tanking was not easy for him. And so my guess is, given all of the factors, I think one reason why Jeremy Lin might be headed to the Eastern Conference out of the West is the Mavericks are going to have a very tough time making the playoffs in the upcoming season, and maybe for the foreseeable seasons if they decide to just completely tank out. Number 1A, why did J-Lin pick Charlotte specifically? Well, based upon his Facebook postings from earlier on Wednesday evening, Jeremy Lin went out and talked and interacted with fans directly. He is saying that head coach of the Hornets, Steve Clifford, and the team is giving him, he feels, the best opportunity to show what he can do, to get a good number of minutes playing, and to run a lot of pick and rolls, which is what Jeremy Lin is good at doing, among other things. I looked up some statistics on the Charlotte Hornets, and from what I can tell, it appears as though the Charlotte Hornets were one of the top 2 teams in the NBA in the 2014 and 2015 regular season in terms of running pick and rolls. They were right up there with the Dallas Mavericks, ironically. Seems as though, although I've got to confirm this with some more statistics later, it seems as though the Charlotte Hornets ran the pick and roll play more than 21% of the time, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's apparently more than any other team besides the Dallas Mavericks ran that play in the NBA last year. So that is one reason, I'm sure, why Jeremy Lin chose this team. They do seem to be committed to that offensive staple, the pick and roll. Now, the Eastern Conference is easier than the Western Conference, so maybe if the Mavs played the Hornets, the Mavs are a better team head-to-head, but the Hornets are going to have an easier time making the playoffs in the East, and the Mavs are going to have it making it in the West. Now, number 2, Charlotte has revamped their roster this offseason. They got rid of Lance Stevenson, who was their prize acquisition last summer, but just didn't work in Charlotte. I think there were personality issues, and I think that the team is happy to be moving on from Lance Stevenson, who was a shooting guard. They also lost Mo Williams, who was their backup point guard the end of the last regular season. He got traded to Charlotte from the Minnesota Wolves. He came in and he did very well. And the amount of games that he was there, and I can't remember how many it is, maybe like 30, he performed really well. And so I am quite sure that Jeremy Lin and his team saw that there was an ability and a spot for Mo Williams to come in and be able to show what he can do. So I'm thinking that Team Lin is believing they're going to be able to do something similar to what Mo Williams did. Number 3, are we concerned about the contract here? Apparently, from what I heard initially, the contract is 2 years, $4 million, so like $2 million a year, something like this. I'm not concerned about it all. And this entire process, I've never been concerned about the contract. Yes, I want Jeremy Lin to make as much money as he can. I don't want him to be seen as a lower tier salary player. But the best way to show that you're not that is to perform well. It's better to perform well than to be paid well, as though you're a good performer. There's plenty of people who are paid too much and they don't perform well. What I'm saying to you is, if Jeremy Lin performs well right now, the next contract's going to be a lot bigger. So I'm not concerned about that. Now, who have the Charlotte Hornets brought in? Okay, let's talk more about roster personnel, style of play, and this type of thing. I might as well start with head coach Steve Clifford. It was told to me on Twitter by Jack Neto. I think that's how you say his last name. Jack, I'm sorry if I said it wrong. Steve Clifford was apparently one of the assistants for Mike D'Antoni with the Los Angeles Lakers in 2012, 2013. If that is the case, and I have no reason to think it's not the case, then you can believe that Steve Clifford and Mike D'Antoni have talked about Jeremy Lin and what Jeremy Lin can do for Charlotte and what Charlotte can do for Jeremy Lin. I'm sure of that. I imagine that. Steve Clifford, I got to get more information on him. I do know this about him off the top of my head. He is regarded as a good coach. He is regarded as a coach that kind of has helped lift up Charlotte. So I don't know everything about him. I'm not saying he's a Popovich level or even a Rick Carlisle level or any of that, but he is regarded as a good, competent coach. I don't know his area of specialty, or if I know it, I forget it right now in terms of offense, defense, and this type of thing. If he worked under Mike D'Antoni, that's definitely a good sign, in my opinion, particularly when it comes to Jeremy Lin. Now let's talk more about the roster. The Hornets, as I said, they got rid of Lance Stevenson, so they're going to have a new shooting guard. They're going to have a new small forward that's going to be starting, and the guys that they brought in this summer via trade are Jeremy Lamb, who is a long, athletic shooting guard who played at Oklahoma City last year. He's had 3 years in the league. He's a very promising player. He hasn't kind of fully developed, but there are high hopes for him. Okay, he's a solid 3-point shooter. Again, he's an athletic guy. Get out in transition. Get to the basket. He could shoot. He has a pretty good shooting stroke, is a way to say it. So that's the shooting guard they brought in. The small forward that they brought in is Nicholas Batum, who has played for the Portland Trail Blazers in earlier previous stop in his career. Nicholas Batum is a well-regarded player. He's similar to Jeremy Lamb. He's long, he's athletic, good transition player, good defender, a team-oriented player. Additionally, now, of course, they got Jeremy Lin, and they also went out and got Spencer Hawes from the Los Angeles Clippers. Spencer did not work out for the Clippers, but there's things Spencer can do. He is a tall, big man who can shoot. And so what Spencer Hawes is good at doing is spreading out the floor on offense. He's very good with somebody like Jeremy Lin because he'll give Jeremy Lin room to be able to drive to the basket. Essentially, Spencer Hawes is a pick and pop type of player. If he sets a pick, rather than going to the basket, he's going to drift to the outside and spot up for a jump shot, the way that we saw Jordan Hill do with the Lakers last year, the way that you see Carlos Boozer do often. But Hawes is younger than Boozer, and he's a good player who I don't think really realized his full potential with the Clippers last year. So those are three guys that they brought in via trade, of course, or free agency, and they acquired Jeremy Lin. They drafted two players, the first of which is the highly touted Frank Kaminsky from the University of Wisconsin. Now, there are a lot of people who are down on Frank Kaminsky. They don't think he's going to be that good in the NBA. They don't think he's athletic enough to be good in the NBA. They don't think he's quick enough, and so on and so forth. Here's what I'm going to tell you about Frank Kaminsky. In my opinion, he's going to be a good NBA player. Is he going to be great? I don't know. He's taller. He's very tall. I would say he's at least 6'11" with it in his bare feet. So he's taller than you think that he is. He's a good shooter. He's somebody that can drift out around the three-point line and hit shots. So he's another guy who can spread the floor, as is Spencer Hawes. So what we kind of see here, without doing more research, I can see the direction in which the Hornets are trying to construct their roster. They want long, athletic guys like at the wings, like Batum and Lamb, and they want big men who can shoot and spread the floor and open up the spacing on offense, like Kaminsky and like Spencer Hawes. This is going to be a team that's fundamentally, they're going to play, it might not be exciting the way they play on offense all the time, but there's no divas on this team. This is going to be a team-focused approach rather than a hero ball-focused approach. The core of the offense still is going to come down to center Al Jefferson. Al Jefferson is probably the best offensive big man in the league right now in terms of skill set, offensive moves, productivity. He's a guy that can do almost anything. He's terrific down in the low post area. In terms of footwork and this type of stuff, he can come out and hit a jump shot if you need him to hit a jump shot. He's a terrific rebounder. He's a workhorse. So they are going to do a lot of stuff through Al, which they should do because he's probably their best player, our most productive and consistent player, at least on offense. However, Hornets will be more explosive now, because you've got quick and athletic players. You've got Kemba Walker, starting point guard. You've got Jeremy Lin now. You've got Jeremy Lamb. You've got Nicholas Batum. These are guys that can get out on the break and score in bunches. So it's going to be kind of a hybrid offensive attack here with some low post, some transition, probably a lot of pick and rolls, although there's no DeAndre Jordan or Tyson Chandler here. That's a great finisher with dunks on pick and rolls. You still have a team that likes to use that aspect of offense. It might not be as flashy, but that's what they're going to go to, maybe in a way that like the old Utah Jazz did with John Stockton and Karl Malone. And that works. Even if they're not dunks, layups score just as many points as dunks do. I'm optimistic about this decision by Jeremy Lin. First of all, I trust Jeremy Lin and Team Lin. There's a reason why they made this decision. Obviously, they've studied up on this. They know that this is what they want. And they've been told certain things by Charlotte and by Steve Clifford, the head coach, about opportunities, maybe playing time, style of play. So if Lin trusts them, then I trust them. Secondly, as I said, this has the potential to be a good, sound, disciplined, good attitude, hardworking, carry your lunch pail type of team. They still need a couple pieces, but again, they're overhauling their entire roster. This is something that's going to take time to get all set. And I like where they're going. I like the pieces that they're bringing in here. And I like that were able to carve out a real strong spot for Mo Williams last year. Mo Williams did not come in as a starter. He again was backing up Kemba Walker. I think Kemba got hurt last year at the end of the season. And Mo put up big numbers, real big. And now he scored the 52 points in the game last year. I think that was with Minnesota. He didn't score 52 points with Charlotte, but his per game and per 36 minutes stats were better with the Hornets than they were with Minnesota. So there's going to be an opportunity here for Jeremy Lin, and I like that. I like that a lot. Additionally, Kemba Walker and Jeremy Lamb, which probably is going to be the starting backcourt for the Hornets, I would imagine, if they're healthy. They played together at the University of Connecticut, so they already know each other. They know each other's games. That should ease the transition. Jeremy is going to be the third guard in this system. He's going to be the sixth man, or he should be. That, looking at the roster, that would be my guess, and that's what he's going to be. He's going to get good playing time, or he should. Finally, the Hornets like to use an offense that relies on two ball handlers or two initiators of the offense, which is something that we kind of saw with the Lakers last year, although that was more of a system thing. There were two ball handlers and two initiators, but it was more kind of a structured thing. This seems like, without knowing more about Charlotte's offense, this seems like a situation where there might be a little bit more freedom for Jeremy Lin to do his thing on pick and rolls with his decision-making in the offense, rather than as opposed to the Lakers, which is hand the ball off and then go run where you're supposed to run in the Princeton / triangle stuff that Byron Scott uses. This looks like it might be a little more free-flowing here. Jeremy Lin is at his best when you put the ball in his hands, you run a pick and roll, and you let him make the decisions. And I'm starting to think that that's the type of system, at least somewhat, or at times, that Charlotte uses. And if that is the case, then I expect Jeremy Lin to do well in that type of an opportunity. Jeremy Lamb and Kemba Walker, who I said will probably end up being the starting guards for the Hornets. Jeremy Lamb is going to be in his fourth year. Kemba, I can't remember what year he's going to be in. These are relatively young players. So Jeremy Lin is at about the same level of experience or slightly more than those players, which means you want to rely on your veteran players. I think Jeremy Lin will have a important and fair role on this team, even if he doesn't start. What you're probably looking at, and I know Jeremy's talked about this type of trajectory for himself in the past, is you're probably looking at a Manu Ginobili type of situation here for Jeremy Lin, which is sixth man who's absolutely critical to your team. Maybe he finishes games on the floor, although maybe he doesn't. But you need him. He's integral. He's as important as any of your starters based upon what he does for the team. Jeremy knows how to perform this role. He's performed it in Houston. He can do this. And so I think the signs look very good. I think there's a good chance, without going over all of the East and all of the transactions and decisions that have been made by teams, through this summer. I think there's a good chance that the Hornets will make the playoffs, that's good for Jeremy Lin. And I think this situation sets up well for him. I really do. And if for whatever reason he doesn't want to be there long term, he's only in a 2-year contract. So he can go there, do well, and then move on if he wants to do that, which is basically what Mo Williams did this summer. Okay, that's the initial wrap-up here. That's all the information and data that I can give you right now with limited research. We're going to have to see more of how the Hornets kind of fill out their roster. They also have Troy Daniels on the team, who I believe was a teammate of Jeremy's in Houston, although they may have missed each other. I can't recall right now. The other draft pick that Charlotte did this summer was they picked, I can't remember the guy's name, Volley or something like that. He's a small forward from, I believe, France. He was high pick in the second round, so he could help out. So like I said, the team is not spectacular. It's not flashy. It's not going to be Dunk City. They look solid. The team plays excellent defense. This is a team that plays great defense. Their offense is not as good. So they need players like Jeremy Lin to come in and help them improve the offense. I think that this team can be 8, 9, 10 deep once they get the roster in order. For the East, that's pretty good. If the team is healthy and if we're able to see a good rookie campaign from Frank Kaminsky, I think this team they're not gonna beat the Cavaliers. They're not going to beat probably the Bulls or whatever, but they can have a good year. They can make the playoffs. Jeremy Lin could have a good year, get rid of all the nonsense that's taken place in the last 3 years in Houston and Los Angeles, and he can kind of reset his NBA career, and kind of this can be a new beginning. And I think that this situation, this team, this roster, what looks like this offensive system, I think that this can work out for Jeremy Lin. And so the ultimate verdict here for myself is a woo, because I did not expect this, as none of you expected this. Dallas was the play. It was the choice. It's very clear to me. But I think that given what happened with DeAndre Jordan, I think this could work out really well for Jeremy. And it's out of the spotlight. Jeremy's not a guy that loves the limelight. I mean, he's good at it. Like, he handles himself well. But he kind of likes to just kind of do his own thing and just be left alone. And Charlotte is a great place to do that. Even though Michael Jordan's the owner, they don't get a lot of attention. They're not a sexy team. They're not a sexy franchise. And so Jeremy can just get in there, go to work, learn his new teammates, learn the community, and so on and so forth. So overall, I'm happy about this. I don't know if it was the ideal choice at the beginning of the summer, but I think it's turned out to be a very good thing, and I believe that the Hornets will be committed to Jeremy Lin. Their general manager, Rich Cho, he's a well-respected guy. He knows what Jeremy Lin's all about. Steve Clifford apparently has had extensive conversations with Jeremy Lin and Team Lin, so this can be a good spot, a good transitional phase for the rest of Jeremy Lin's career as he begins to head into his physical prime. Like I said, I'm excited. I'm excited because Jeremy now has a team. He can settle in. He can get to work. I think he's going to have, I've been through Charlotte. I don't know a lot about Charlotte, but the South and the Southeast usually tends to be pretty friendly, pretty chill. I think Jeremy Lin will like it there, and he's a comfort level guy. He needs to kind of feel good about things and be at peace with his surroundings to do his best, and I think he'll be able to achieve that fairly quickly in Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay, that is it for now. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Your comments below. Thanks a lot for watching Conservative Media. Look, I'm excited about this. The more I think about it, the more excited I get about it. This can work, and it's great. Sure, when Jeremy Lin came into the league as an undrafted free agent, yes, he had his choice of team, but the truth is only 2-3 teams were interested in him. Now, more teams are interested in him. This is the first real opportunity that he has had to fairly, on a level playing field with full information, make a decision. Jeremy Lin is an intelligent guy. His circle of family, friends, advisors, they're good, smart people. They chose this place. They chose it over San Antonio. They chose it over Dallas. They chose it over Chicago. They chose it over different situations, including places where he could have gotten more money. So I trust them. I think that we as Lin fans and observers are going to be happy with what we see unfolding for Jeremy Lin this year. And I think we're finally going to be able to put behind us the kind of intrigue, drama, nightmares that we've had the previous 3 years. And that's what the Charlotte Hornets want to do. They went into last year thinking everything was settled and great because they got Lance Stevenson. Well, that turned into its own nightmare. They want less drama. Jeremy wants less drama. This could be the situation and the place for that to get accomplished, and Jeremy Lin can focus on playing basketball and improving as a player rather than what does the diva superstar teammate want, who's doing what teammate is going out with what model, and these types of things. We can just kind of focus on basketball. So that is it for now. Once again, I am PFV Paul Filariel, the NBA expert. Thanks a lot for watching Conservative Media. We're going to have plenty more to come this summer about Jeremy Lin. This is just the beginning, but this is the cornerstone of the building has been laid. The foundation is now set. Jeremy Lin will be a Charlotte Hornets player in the 2015 and 2016 season, and that in itself is a big accomplishment for the Lin fan base, who have been on pins and needles and nervous and staying up all night to find out what was going to happen with Jeremy. Now we know. We know that Jeremy's happy with the decision, and so I think that we can all have confidence and an air of realistic optimism moving forward here. That's it for now. I will be heading back to Twitter shortly after I post this video. I'm about 500 messages behind as I speak right now at 12:53 a.m. here on Thursday, July 9th, is it? Or is it 10th now? I'm all over the place right now. I think 9th, 2015 on the United States. Hope you're having a great day or great night wherever you are around the world. It is currently 12:53 p.m. in China and in Taiwan, where many of the Jeremy Lin Garden people are. Take care. We will talk to you again soon. Let us know. What do you think? Are you satisfied with this move? Was it the right decision? How do you think Jeremy's going to do next year? Do you think he's got the right teammates here? And so on and so forth. We want to hear what you have to say, so let us know in the comments. Come and hit us up on Twitter. You'll get that information in the video description below the video player so you can know where to go. One final thing. I'm very happy that Jeremy himself went out and talked to his fans directly tonight after the decision. A lot of people were confused. A lot of people were disappointed. A lot of Mavs fans were disappointed and upset. And I like that Jeremy took the time and had the emotional intelligence to understand that now was a good time for him to step forward for Jeremy Lin Global Family to kind of soothe the waters. So I'm really happy that he did that. And we move on. Los Angeles is in the rearview mirror, just as Houston is in the rearview mirror. We are finally putting those things behind us. We move on to the Charlotte Hornets portion of Jeremy Lin's career.